Heavy rain has fallen on Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, more than half of the monthly norm of precipitation fell overnight. The city has entered emergency mode. Trees have fallen, streets are flooded, and cars are literally floating on the roads. The water has risen so high that it floods even the cabins of buses. Several apartment buildings were left without electricity. A bridge collapsed in one of the districts due to the rising river level. In Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, schools cancelled classes, students are transferred to distance learning. Emergency crews are working in the pouring rain, trying to reduce the consequences of the flood.
На Ямахе центре. Королла премиум. Плавает. Море воды.
A strong storm with hail has hit the capital of Italy. The storm raged for a couple of hours and caused trouble. During this time about 80 millimeters of precipitation fell on Rome. Especially affected the northern part of the city. As writes Corriere della Sera, firefighters urgently managed to evacuate 40 children from a kindergarten. Streets for a few minutes turned into rivers. The water in many areas of the center and suburbs reached a height of 1.5 meters. Garbage and mopeds, which are very abundant in Rome, were carried away by the current. The subway had to be temporarily closed, traffic on the city's highways was completely paralyzed. All this caused a storm of criticism of the current authorities. As it turned out, the sewage system could not cope with the water flows, as no one had cleaned the drains and wells in the last few years. Every year the territory of Krasnodar suffers from the impact on life of a large number of one or another insects. Social network users even find in this phenomenon familiar biblical motifs. In recent days, residents began to complain en masse about the invasion of the marble bug. The accumulation of these insects was most often recorded in Sochi, Anapa, Armavir and Guamka. Every year there is a new invasion of all sorts of insects. There are frogs, snails, locusts, bedbugs. We had a wasp infestation this year. Who will come next year? Asks a local resident in social networks. Most alarming reports come from Armavir, the main focus the local reservoir. According to eyewitnesses, all the poles are completely covered with insects that seek to get into the eyes, nose and ears. Specialists suggest that the cause of the invasion of marble bugs may be warm weather. In this case, the insects not only cause discomfort to people, but also threaten grape and citrus crops. A magnitude 4.9 earthquake has been recorded by seismologists in Afghanistan. An earthquake with a magnitude of 4.9 has occurred in Afghanistan. This is reported by the European Mediterranean Seismological Center. According to seismologists, the origin lay at a depth of 10 kilometers. Epicenter at a distance of 9 kilometers from the city of Baghlan, where about 108,000 people live. There was no information about any damage or casualties. A shipwreck in Congo left 30 people dead and 167 missing. At least 30 people drowned and 167 are missing after a boat capsized in the northwestern Democratic Republic of Congo, Reuters quoted the country's health minister Didier Mbula as saying. 189 people have been rescued, the search is still ongoing, the minister said. According to Mbula, the overturned vessel was overloaded, carrying more than 300 people. The number of casualties could rise, the minister added. A wooden whaling vessel called Mapamboli capsized on the Congo River in the town of Mbandaka on the evening of October 13. In addition to passengers, the ship was carrying cargo such as sacks of cement, iron rods and thousands of liters of fuel, Congolese publication Actualite wrote. The ship was on a voyage to Balamba, a territory located more than 300 kilometers from the city of Mbandaka. According to Actualite, the crash was due to failure to comply with navigational measures, including overloading and a night voyage. The publication also reported that hospital morgues in Mbandaka are already overflowing with victims of the crash. A plane flying to Turkey with 178 passengers on board was struck by lightning. A passenger plane flying from Germany to Turkey was struck by lightning, Air Porsche reports. The plane was departing from Hamburg Airport when it was struck by lightning. The aircraft then landed in Munich. The replaced A320-200 continued the flight and arrived in Antalya with a delay of about 2 hours. Earlier it was reported that the plane, which was traveling from Chicago to Boston, successfully completed the flight despite the fact that it was struck by lightning. The incident occurred on September 18, but it has only now become known. Lightning struck an Airbus A220 with 85 passengers on board during the journey. After a successful landing, the plane was taken out of service. According to representatives of Delta Airlines, which owns the aircraft, the security that is why they will check the airplane to make sure that it will not fail during the next flight. Extreme heat is expected in Chile due to the El Niño phenomenon. A sharp rise in temperature is expected in Chile due to the El Niño phenomenon. Now it is spring in the country, as well as in the whole southern hemisphere. In the coming summer, the thermometer will rise to above normal levels, scientists warn. They are concerned because of El Niño, a weather phenomenon that causes sharp temperature fluctuations and climatic disasters. The consequences of extreme heat could again be forest fires. Last year, they already wreaked havoc in the central regions of Chile. The effects of the drought that has prevailed in the country for the past few years may also worsen. In the mountains of Almaty avalanche. There are victims. An avalanche has occurred in the mountains of Almaty. According to official data, the snowfall was triggered by 2 professional skiers. Rescuers have left to transport the victims. One of them is tentatively 33 to 35 years old. To get to the scene of the accident, emergency personnel will be several hours. So far there is no information about the condition of the skiers. Recall, the day before the local emergency department warned about the weather conditions and asked not to visit residents and visitors to the mountains.
That's one of the biggest avalanches I've ever seen in real life. It's gonna pummel us. Oh my gosh. What? Dude, I hope nobody's down on Boot Hill. Here it comes, bro. Oh, we are.
The ongoing drought since July has dried up the Amazon River in Brazil. Its water level has reached an all-time low. For almost a month now, the country's largest state, Amazonas, has been in emergency mode. A boat or a boat in these places has always been more important than a car. It was river transport that brought food, medicine and fuel to the people of Amazonas, but the drought has paralyzed shipping. Manaus could run out of food and fuel. The neighboring city of Porto Velho is also suffering from drought. Anyone who can send us water, let them do so through humanitarian organizations. We really need water, stated local resident Lucas. The largest city in the Amazon, Manaus, is on the brink of disaster. Until recently it was possible to get from here to anywhere in the region by ferry, but the ships are running aground. Many locals used to fish, but it is no longer available here.